Skandia is a very, very unique place, even in Minnesota. It's the first Swedish settlement of Minnesota. It was settled in about 1850. It's a really unique town. All the kind of Swedish designs are maintained in the homes, and people fly Swedish flags outside their homes, and there's dollar horses on the street signs. It's really, really cool. But to be honest, I felt really out of place and unwelcomed in Skandia growing up. I felt like kind of the black sheep, like I didn't really fit in here. And I think also just being a gay male in Skandia, in such a small town, there's not a lot of other men that are out here and comfortable with their sexuality. And that was something I was very comfortable with and confident that if I was gonna be happy, I'd probably have to go somewhere else. I left Skandia when I was about 18 years old for college, and yeah, I never came back.
Are you excited?
I'm really excited. I'm nervous, I'm excited, but I'm ready to go. My sisters are extremely important to me. I'd do anything for them. I'd go to the end of the world and back for them.
If you remember, I mean, Grandma went over to Sweden with the aunts some time back when we were just littles, and we never had that opportunity to go meet our rellies over there. And this is your big chance to do that and make that connection for our generation.
Yeah. I'm ancestrally related to Sweden on my dad's side. And my grandma, Esther Morrison, was a really remarkable person. She was an adventurer, she was a traveler, she was an artist. I really look up to her and see a lot of similarities in her as I do in myself. It's this feeling like maybe there's a relative over there that I would really relate to and, you know, have a lot in common with. That would be really cool. When I was in high school, my dad, he had brain cancer. He battled it and he really fought, and we came together as a family really tight to take care of him. And unfortunately, he lost. And he passed away before my grandma. And then soon after that, my grandma died. And then, you know, as hard as that time was, that was a really, really dark time. It also shaped me as the person who I am, and it made me so strong. And it also made me realize how short and precious life is. And so it's things like this that I'm like, yeah, I have to do this. I have to go to Sweden, and I have to win, because that's what they would have wanted me to do. I know.
Today, I hope to find out how my ancestors lived, were their struggles, was it easy for them? And I hope to find out that I have things in common with my family and my ancestors. That's what I'm very, very curious about.
Dear Andrew, following one's beliefs and dreams is definitely something which runs in your blood. 9 of your ancestors left Sweden to seek happiness in America. Of their many great stories, the story of the Carlsons, your grandmother's family here in Västergötland, is your starting point, your way home. You are now in Sinnerby, a place with medieval origins where your ancestors have lived for many generations. The clay soils around here were long farmed by generations of wealthy landowners. Originally, your ancestors here were both rich and prosperous. Generation by generation, fortune slid down the social ladder, making it harder to climb back up. On October 22nd, 1849, Johannes Carlson was born on the Sonnetorp farm in Sinnerby. At 16, Johannes moved out to work as a farmhand for a widow and their 3 children. After that, he seems to have found a new job every year. A young man like Johannes had few alternatives. He had no money and would inherit no land. He had to eat, but he didn't want to spend his life being someone else's farmhand. Yeah, I feel like Johannes. I feel this connection with him, because I would never settle. And I was really young when I moved away from the farm, from Skandia, knowing that if I did that, if I pursued what I thought would be a good idea, I could have a better future for myself. It sounds just like Johannes. One way out was the military. Soldiers were often given a small soldier's cottage to live in and a small plot of land to grow food. 20-year-old Johannes saw his chance. enlisted and became number 93 in Västergöta Regiment. So this is my relative that was in the military. 3 years later, Johannes fell in love with Maria Lovisa, Anders' daughter. They had 7 children. Johannes and Maria were clearly optimistic about the future, defying odds by saving enough money to buy a small plot of land in Hylike in 1886. Just 2 years later, they expanded their holdings by buying more land. In this way, they'd reserved the familial trend and became Hemmensagare, a step up the socioeconomic ladder. This farm is still in your family's possession today.
It looks like no one's been here for quite a while.
That's so cool. It's incredible that it's still here, existing even. I'm so curious what happened here and what's going to happen to this place. And I have to find out. This is where they started their life, and this is where I come from. Their son Carl was a special kid who built the area's first bicycle, which people came from near and far just to see. Carl's brother David later remembered how Carl would often sit alone, engrossed in a building project while the others were playing. "We thought he was crazy," wrote David. It's funny, but at the same time, I know how hard it is to be the crazy one in the community and the family, and to be seen as, you know, the one that is just different. And knowing that Carl was this inventor, this artist, this crazy person makes me really happy because I am too. And I always have been and I always will be. And, you know, this makes me more proud of that now. But enterprising young men like Carl saw a bleak future in Sweden. When his brother Fritz left for America in 1901, it took only 2 years for Carl to follow. Carl bravely set foot on Ellis Island on June 20th, ready for a new chapter to life, and got work as a carpenter. He was making shit happen, and I love that. He was a tough guy. Carl's wife-to-be was the Swedish-born Beta Nordstrom, who'd come to Minnesota with her siblings and parents from Skåne in 1897. The two fell in love at first sight at a church function. They had 6 children together, one of whom was named Esther. Your Farmore. Reading my grandmother's name makes this all so real. And to be here in Sweden and to open this chest and to read this means so much to me because I know that this is what she wanted me to know. And I know she would be so proud. And so would my father. And I'm really confident about that. I feel like I understand myself a lot more. For the things about me that people call me crazy, I feel like I understand myself a lot more and where that comes from. It comes from the Carlsons. It comes from Västergötland, from here. It's this soil and this water. I mean, that's why I am who I am today. And I'm motivated to push on because I want to understand what happened with the relatives that stayed here in Sweden and who's still living here in Sweden. I want to know what struggles they had or successes, and I want to get to know them, and the only way I can is if I win.